Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Let's Cross Together podcast with yours truly, the mental health coach. I want to thank you all for tuning in to our podcast today. I'm excited because we again are going to be tackling the topic of mental health and the church. Mental health and the church. And today we're going to be doing part 2 of questions, answers, and solutions. Sometimes we all face crisis or trauma, or have faced crises and traumas. And what do we do with them? We still got to function. We still have our everyday life. And today we're going to just be talking about it again here on our podcast. Let's start. Last week, or a few days ago, actually, we had a great discussion. Many people came on and provided comments, and we're going to be doing that today. I do have some questions already laid out that were asked of me. And we're going to be tackling those questions first. And then we're going to answer some other things and maybe talk about some other things as we move forward. All right, who is this? All right, so welcome again. Let's Cross Together podcast with yours truly, the mental health coach. Let's Cross Together is a outreach, if you will, or an extension of Bridge Crossers Solutions, where our focus and dedication is to the ministry of mental health. I believe I was directed by God to change the direction of Bridge Crossers Solutions to really focus on help increasing the mental health awareness, breaking mental health stigma barriers towards the church. And I believe we've done a good job at doing that with just podcasts, one-on-ones, groups, and so forth. So anyway, here we are today. I started off saying that everyone has experienced some type of crisis and trauma in their life. We all have. If we've lived any length of time, we have experienced crisis in our life. Crisis to one is not a crisis to another. Trauma for one is not trauma to another. So we all have some aspect of experiencing something very unpleasant, something that altered our thinking, something that altered how we perceive. But in the event of that happening, we still had to live life. We still had to move forward. We still had to function. We still had to go to work. We still had to hold down leadership jobs. We still had to lead people. We still had to create. We still had to be husbands and wives. And, we still had to function in high level roles, even in the midst of all of that background or baggage that we have taken on because of trauma and the crisis that we have experienced. So what happens when that crisis or trauma is not confronted or dealt with in a healthy manner? The tendency is to it never becomes unpacked, so we never really get any closure to an issue. But then we still go on living and functioning and moving. Now, also in the midst of that, you're actually taking on more situations that come along, or crisis and trauma and just things that happen. So you have what you've experienced, and now you have that compounded with what you are experiencing. And so now you have yesterday and today that you're going to take into tomorrow. And when we take yesterday and today and we take that into tomorrow, and it's never unpacked, it's never dealt with in a healthy manner, then it creates some serious issues in our lives. So today, we want to continue to deal with that topic. So this is part 2. So let's talk about this. And again, I have some questions that people have given to me, and we're going to be touching on those. So maybe what I'll do today is talk about. Let me answer let's go over the first question. The first question: why do people avoid talking about issues? Why do people avoid talking about issues? As we covered on the first podcast, we avoid talking about issues because one major issue with talking about issues is the stigma that's attached on discussing issues, discussing things you may have in your life that have happened to you. So the stigma that's placed upon us that causes us, or maybe puts us in a pressure mode to feel like I don't want to be labeled. So it puts us, we're under pressure. Like, I don't know about you, but I know in the past I've dealt with, should I say anything? Should I not say anything? And now we create what is called, we become a pressure cooker. Now we become just overloaded with the internal struggle of, I want to tell somebody, I want to talk to somebody, but I don't want to be labeled. I don't want to be labeled as something's wrong with me. Something is, I'm a bad person. And let me say this, having issues in your life doesn't make you any less of a human being. It doesn't make you any less of a good person. It doesn't stop you from fulfilling dreams. It doesn't say that you can't obtain goals or dreams. What it does say is you have an issue, and issues have to be dealt with it. One of the stories in the Word of God is a woman who had an issue of blood. She had a circumstance that was evident for 12 years. I believe it says 12 long years she had this issue. She had this circumstance. And the Bible says that she even went to doctors. She went to doctors. She spent all she had to try to get fixed. So what I love about that story is that she didn't try to act like she didn't have something going on. She spent her money. She tried this. She went here. So sometimes the stigma of having an issue, having a problem, puts us in a position to feel like we're going to be judged or even misunderstood. And mental health and mental health illness are highly misunderstood, especially by those who don't understand it. People make fun of situations that they have no idea or not even qualified to speak on. I told the story when I heard someone in the pulpit, and I knew as a pastor, we preach sermons and we want to help people. We want to come from the word and we want to lift people out of their situations. But Jesus never insulted people to grow them. Jesus didn't make the matter worse. He didn't make the matter worse by insulting people to encourage them. So many times the stigma gets bigger, especially if you're in a big setting, when comments are made to make fun of people that are struggling with things, or to make light or to downplay someone else's issue. And so now everyone laughs at it when we make fun of it. I heard somebody say, yes, some of y'all in here got spiritual schizophrenia, and everybody cracked up and everybody was laughing. And I was really bothered by that comment. I was bothered because this person has no idea that this is a real situation that needs attention. And so when we don't really understand how to help people, sometimes we joke about things that we don't even have power to help them over. The scripture also says that if a brother is overtaken in a fault, it says, you who are spiritual, you who are mature, you who are equipped, restore him, help restore him. And so if we understood the seriousness of what we're saying to make a person feel a certain way. We understood the negativity and the negative impact on our words against things that people are struggling with and making light of. We would never really joke about people's issues. I read something one time. Sometimes we joke about other people's issues, but what if somebody joked about our problems? What if God shined the light on our struggle? And sometimes we can master our struggle. We master it so good that we forget we have it. And then it puts us in the mindset to criticize and make fun of somebody else's struggle. But Jesus never insulted. Jesus never made fun of people to grow them. He never was slick out of his mouth and to cause mental harm or to deflate somebody's confidence in order to help grow them. Does that make any sense? So that's one thing. That's one reason why the stigma is enlarged, because we make comments, and then when others laugh at that comment, and the comment, the person who's struggling is not laughing, or he might laugh to act like he's not struggling with it, so he can look like he's or she look like they're fitting in. But nonetheless, it does harm. It does harm when we make light and become cavalier with making comments about people who have real life issues. And in this respect, we're talking about mental health and the church. So sometimes we can cause, sometimes we can point fingers and tell people to get over it, and you should have more faith. Let me make sure. Let me see here. Is the picture clear on here? Okay. My computer was doing some weird stuff here. I didn't know if it was the picture or was it me. All right. So why do people avoid talking about the issues? And I believe the answer we just said is one reason, is probably a good reason. We make fun, we make light of, we downplay. So now you imagine having about 30 people in a room that have things they want to share or get help over. But when we make a negative comment about it or a slick comment about it, so take about 30 people who are never going to tell someone they need help. Can you imagine having 30 people? I'm just using that as even a low number. You have about 30 people who are never going to be honest and share what they're going through. So now look at the impact of not addressing this or not getting this issue resolved on some level or getting help. So now there's at least 30 people who probably won't fulfill destiny, who will probably continually feel victimized or feel hurt and feel wounded. And so now you have that many people who have potential to be used of God, who have potential to help others through their experiences and through their circumstances, but will never do it because they never felt comfortable to share it or to get the effective, proper help to get free of it or manage it to be able to fulfill the potential. What we don't deal with, what we don't talk about, it doesn't leave the earth. It doesn't take a vacation. It just lingers, and it causes our lives to be ineffective. But there is good news. Jesus has come that we may have life and we have it more abundantly. So this topic of mental health and the church, because it hasn't been approached effectively, we've put the stigma, or maybe was part of the larger problem of stigmatizing people of faith and saying they didn't have faith because they wouldn't have that issue. When I was going through a major trauma in my life, it was, and I shared it on, I went through a divorce. I shared a little bit about the trauma and the pain. And, there were people that said to me, you're going to have to just get over it. Man, you're going to have to get over it. And so I know Jesus would never just come and downplay my hurt. downplay my pain, because what that does is put you in a box to now hold it in within yourself. Many times there are people around us that are not qualified, maybe just through compassion wise, not necessarily coming through from a professional standpoint, but not even qualified from a place of having compassion. Because when you have compassion, compassion can serve as a type of therapy. Compassion serves as a type of restoration when you're having compassion, because through that compassion is also empathy. And then through empathy, there is a comfort to a person who's at their low place. And now you're at a place of being able to influence them, to bring them forward, or to help walk them out. So when we downplay it, make people feel a certain way for having an issue that maybe they caused, maybe they didn't cause, or maybe it's just part of life, then we jeopardize this person ever being what God has them to be. And when they're not what God has them to be, they won't be the influence that he intended for their life to be. So when we don't deal with these things, or we stigmatize people to put them in a place to not deal with it, or to feel like they can't deal with it, the repercussions, there's a bigger picture to this. There's a bigger picture than just this person feeling a certain way, because if they're never going to come out and reach the people or the assignment that God has for them. So it's just not about them. So if we really want to help people, we have to find out how to help them, because what's at stake here is their mental health, their encouragement, and then those who are going to benefit from their testimony. So you see the bigger picture here. So why do people avoid talking about issues? Now let's touch on another piece of that. Why people avoid talking about their issues. Let's say it like this. What we don't deal with, what we don't talk about, or what we fail to talk about is still talks. What we are silent about doesn't remain silent. It may remain silent through words, but it doesn't remain silent through actions or through behaviors. What we don't talk about, what we don't get helped and to find out how to get victory over things. If we never talk about it and we're silenced because we feel stigmatized, or we feel whatever the feelings are that's associated with it, if we don't talk about it, do you know what happens? It still talks. It may be silent from our mouth, but it's loud through our behavior. It's loud through our actions. I think that's good right there. I think what we don't talk about, I think that's worth shouting about right there. What we don't talk about, what we don't deal with, what we just kind of avoid, it'll be silent in our communication, but it'll be loud in our behavior. And many of our behavior patterns, negative behavior patterns, things that cause us this what we call dysfunction. It's a disruption in functionality. What happens is the dysfunction, this dysfunction begins to speak, and so and then that's where we get dysfunctional. It's a disruption in functioning. So let's break the stigma. Let's break the stigma off of our lives, thinking we can't go and we can't share and we can't talk about these issues, and we have to live life with them. And we're in a room by ourselves listening to the OJs, and we're quiet and we're depressed and we're going through. These things have remedy. God is for mental health. He's for help. He's for mental help. And in mental health is mental health. He's 100% for helping. He's 100% for getting us to a place. He tells us to grow in grace, to grow in the grace. So we grow in his enabling. And many times we just don't understand what that looks like and what it means. So we think we could do things, we can overdo things to kind of remedy the anxiety. Sometimes you can't do more work to try to subside that uneasy feeling. You have to You have to address it in a healthy manner. So, and as the church, and even as a pastor, most of the people that I share with, and they share with me, they it's things that has brought them to a place where they can't deal with it anymore. So now, but it could have been dealt with early on if they understood that it could be. So I believe as the church, we ought to create an atmosphere where people can be helped. Jesus never insulted. He never insulted people that he helped. He didn't go around hurting people, then trying to encourage them. So let's that point again. What we are silenced and what we don't deal with, what we're silenced about or silenced over, still speaks. And we're going to kind of maybe touch on that a little bit later. But that's a good point. So the next point I want to make is a question that someone else asked. Who can I trust? Who can I trust? And that kind of goes into question one. One of the greatest things that probably is traumatizing in itself is feeling betrayed. You ever share something with someone? You ever just shared maybe your heart, poured it out because you felt that they could, maybe you had a moment, and then come to find out that person shared your business? That's probably one of the most hurtful, things. Let me see here. Somebody's asking me a question here. Okay. That's one of the most hurtful things. And actually that's traumatizing. So now let's look at let's kind of paint a picture here. So we have, let's say a low number. Let's say 10 people in the place, 10 people in the church that have shared secrets, that shared confidential, personal, heart-wrenching information, to come to find out that person shared it with other people. And then the person that shared it with that person is going to duplicate it or multiply it, or they're going to share. There's one thing that we do sometimes. We gossip. Gossip can be traumatizing to a person that confided in you. Gossip. We call gossip, hey, let me share something with you. We call it sharing. But let's call it for what it is. Gossip. It's taking information. It's undermining someone's trust and confidence. And that can be traumatizing to the person when he finds out, because it's a hard thing to deal with when you put your trust in someone or something and it betrays you. That's traumatizing. Now what it does is it builds the wall that you've already have up. It builds it deeper. It solidifies it. It re-cements the wall that you already had. And sometimes when we share, we felt comfortable enough to get the release and to experience some type of freedom, and then it's violated through someone sharing it. And now we're back at square one. We're back at that place of, I'm never going to talk to anyone again. So now we're at a worse place. And you see how it just keeps happening? So who can we trust? Who can we trust that can help us fight being stigmatized for having an issue? Well, I think one of the things we many times, I believe in the church, and just coming from a mental health professional background, just coming from this, the people that I've asked, the people that I have counseled with and spoke and have met with over the years, I think a majority of them are hurt or wounded because they trusted people. And that trust added to the trauma that they already have, or the crisis that they have experienced. And then now they've been portrayed. So it just, it just adds deeper layers of isolation and avoiding people and being by ourselves. So the conversations, like I said, I've had, I'm just rehearsing it in my head, people I've been hurt. I've been hurt. I've been hurt. How you been hurt? Well, I've been betrayed. I trusted people and they let me down. But if we live on any level in life, we're subject to that. We really are subject to that. So who can I trust? Well, that's a difficult question sometimes to answer, because we feel comfortable around people. We build rapport with people. We become friends with people. And so a tendency is at some level of time, you're going to share personal information. You're going to share something because you feel a level of comfortability. I think we need to have some good discernment. We need to be discreet and watchful and wise on what we share and who we share it with. I personally, sometimes I encourage people, if you're going to share deep traumatic things, look at the criteria of the person that you're sharing it with. Do you see a level of victory in their life? Do you see a level of joy? Do you see a level of, because sometimes we are sharing our struggles with someone who's struggling with the same thing, and we think we're going to be encouraged, but all we're doing is affirming that one another has the same issue. Sometimes it's not encouragement. We actually having fear meetings. We're coming together and encouraging and affirming each other's fear, and we call it encouragement, but nothing was said to walk out of it or to walk away from it. It just, we came together and we just affirmed our weaknesses. So I think when you're sharing traumatic things that have placed you in crisis, really deep wounded things, because you want to share for the sake of help, not share, so the person has to be at a place to make, you got to see something in them that says that they can offer some kind of help, some kind of encouragement, or some kind of uplifting word, or hey, I can walk with you through this. But sometimes we're sharing it with people that are also, we know their trauma, so we're sharing our trauma, and their trauma hasn't been dealt with. So now only thing what happens is it puts them in a place to not look a certain way. So they want to make sure they look bigger than you sometimes. So they're going to share yours so they can make theirs look smaller. Can y'all see where I'm going with that? So asking for help and then sharing, maybe those are two different perspectives. Hey, we say, can I share something? Maybe when we're trying to get help, maybe we need to share that with someone who's able to help us. Maybe there's a criteria that we need to set up first, so we know that we won't be betrayed. I've shared things with people from the bottom of my heart and maybe thought they can help me, but when I look back, they really couldn't help me. It was just a rapport that was built, and in that rapport, I felt comfortable to share something that probably I shouldn't have. So sometimes we use the word being cool with somebody doesn't necessarily mean that they're able to handle information. So you want to look at the person, make a list of things that you might want to have before you share with someone. Maybe you need to go to a counselor. Maybe you need to go to a professional to share that level of wound, that level of pain. Share with somebody that can really help you walk through it in a healthy manner, not just a good listener, but that can help coach you and help you seek the Lord in a way that helps you disciple your way out of it. So, so it has to be some criteria. So that's my answer to that. Who can we trust? You need to see what the level of trust, what the level of information is, and then do you want to trust that person with that level of pain or trauma or crisis? Do you want to trust them with that? So that's just something you're going to have to find out for yourself. And I don't mean walking around suspicious of people. I don't mean we wondering if people are real or not. It's just being wise. There are people that I have history with that I won't share certain things with. There are people that I have rapport with that I may share it. You know what I'm saying? So the point is discerning what information or what situation is worthy to give to this person in conversation. If you've been through some deep trauma, some real hurtful things in your past, maybe that's just not a conversation with the homie. Maybe that's shared in a safe environment, a setting that's designed to walk you through it. Maybe that needs a counseling session because you just don't want to necessarily be heard. You want to be coached or counseled through it on some relevant steps so you can gain victory over that situation. So, next question. So hopefully you got something out of that. The next question is God against professional help? That's one of the questions that I get a lot that people struggle with because they think the word professional sounds anti-Christ or anti-God. Professional simply means this person or this group are specifically trained in an area to help people in this particular situation. Professional doesn't mean anti-God. It means it speaks of a skill level or a skill set. In my background as a mental health professional, and even as a pastor, and having several degrees in my craft, that puts me at a position or a place to help people, and then having state credentials as well, then having other credentials along with that puts me or individual who has specific training, especially a spirit-filled believer. It puts them in a place now to be able to help them. And also through that help, there is discernment. This person, this helper or this counselor, if he's a spirit-filled believer, because our approach now with Bridge Crosser Solutions, we want to provide mental health support now to the body of Christ at large. So I have a group of people that I'm in partner with that are spirit-filled, believing, Christ-centered in their approach to helping individuals. So that word professional is not a bad term. It just means this person is skilled. Is skilled. Now I've had people I go to that I need help with the things. Hey, because I understand professional and looking at their background and credentials says they went through a process of training to be helped. And I believe that may be one of the areas that we have lacked in the body of Christ. Professionals in the field of mental health, people who are trained in the craft and skilled through credential and through education to be able to walk through people through a systematic way of becoming whole or free. Even in the church, even when we take the model of Jesus was with his disciples for 3 years, and he walked with them. He talked with them. He provided comfort. He provided support. He's really given us a model on really what discipleship is. Discipleship is simply walking someone through into your developing, because in discipleship is developing, is coaching, is providing a level of counseling and wholesome information and advice. If we look at it from that perspective, Jesus was there answering questions. He was there helping them with issues. He was mature as the Savior, but also showing us the model on what it looks like to really provide discipleship, to walk people from one state and transition them into another state. So I believe the church at large, we have not really looked at it from that perspective. And I think we've tried to solve a lot of problems, personal, hardcore issues with sermons and fancy titles. And people may have rejoiced at the moment, but it just wasn't enough for them to walk out, because discipleship, I think, in a large degree, has not been strongly pushed as it ought to be, because I believe more people will be helped, because then we will understand more people have situations and issues that may need additional services or resources. Discipleship helps us to identify what people are going through and helping them, and we're able to provide strategies, and maybe we don't have it, but we know someone else that does. So God is not against professional help. God is all for growing. He's all for us flowing. He's all for us going. What time? At what time? Okay. My daughter. So these are the three questions that I wanted to cover. But I also want to give you an opportunity because at Bridge Crossers Solutions, our signature program is called Let's Cross Together. And also the name of the podcast, obviously. We have a program it's our signature program at Bridge Crossers. And it's actually called Let's Cross Together, this particular part of it. But there's several layers to it. But one of the programs within Let's Cross Together is our program entitled Emotional Rescue. Emotional Rescue. And in that program, we help people walk through how to get your mind back. So we go through three phases: the emotional rescue phase. Then once you rescue your mind back, we go through life reset, how to reset yourself, how to reset your life and your focus. And the last part is creative living. Now that you reset and you have strategies and you have tools, now how do you now start living that out? So that's one of our programs. It actually is called Emotional Rescue. So Emotional Rescue is part of it. Emotional Rescue, life reset, and creative living. If you need help, if you need assistance, maybe you've gone through some challenges and some traumas that you haven't dealt with. We greater or better information applied with a strategy creates better behavior patterns. And that's what Bridge Crosser Solution is about. We're dedicated to the ministry of mental health. Whatever we can't handle, I have a team of individuals. Whatever I can't handle, I have partnerships, and I've connected with agencies and connected with different resources. The bottom line is to help you to be all that God will have you to be, to achieve, to overcome, and to discover. And it's time now that we start addressing these issues. It's time out being quiet at the barbecue when things are going on and we've experienced trauma. It's time to deal with it in a healthy manner. It's time to really get the help that we needed. The scriptures read that we talked about last week. It's Peter says, God has given us all things that pertain to life and godliness. So he's given us everything we need for life, how to live, how to think, how to be healthy, how to function. And then he says he's given us all things that pertains to life, to godliness. So God is concerned about our mental health. So let's get involved with our own with our help. Let's cooperate with help. Let's participate with strategies and resources that can help us overcome and deal with things that we've kind of just hid in the background. Let's be honest. We all have triggers. We all have experienced trauma. We all have experienced some type of crisis. We all have maybe now we're in anxiety. So those things that are constantly going on and we never deal with them, all we're doing is what we see in society. People are road raging. People are angry. People are attacking people at the store. People are just at a boiling point. And this pandemic has revealed a lot of things. It revealed to us where we are, and it revealed to us where we are not. And when sometimes things we haven't dealt with, given a right situation, that thing is going to cause us to explode. So I want to invite you to visit our site. To make it short, bridgecrossers.com. Took the solutions off because some people say, it's too long of a email address. So or site, website. So go to bridgecrossers.com, and you'll go to our Bridge Crossers Solutions page, and you'll see a lot of different things. You got blog, we got resources, we got references, we have partners, other individuals that I partner with to help in this ministry of mental health. So let's grow together. Let's cross together. And remember, bridges were not created to be admired, but to be crossed. And let's cross together. So this is Fernando Cottrell, the mental health coach. And we will be doing a part 3. We will be staying in this arena, just questions, answers, and solutions to really help people. And hopefully we can help you share this video or this podcast, and together we can change lives. All right. Peace.